All right, guys, welcome to the preview for the India versus Afghanistan fixture in Delhi. It is also my debut in the World Cup, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how this goes. Delhi was a fantastic. Delhi witnessed a fantastic match previously between South Africa and Sri Lanka, and I'm still reeling from what happened to Sri Lanka yesterday in Hyderabad. So lots to look forward to again. India is playing, so of course, lots to look forward to. Hardik Pandya's birthday. Not sure if that's going to help in terms of how he plays in the game, but sure, it's still another point, I guess. So hello, Somesh. Hello, Gurkirat. How are we today?
Good. Looking forward to the game. Hopefully, no surprises, and yeah, no surprises. And I hope India are not stretched, because if India are stretched today, then there could be some signs of worry ahead of the next game.
All right, Somesh bhai, what are you looking forward to today? I mean, is it
Oh,
is it a done deal? कि India जीत रहा है?
yeah, actually, of course, see, the point is India are strong favorites. I mean, not just favorites, strong favorites to win this one. Afghanistan, it's a day where they would need some sort of individual brilliance to cause an upset. Having said that, I hope that it's a closer contest. I mean, unlike Gurkirat, I want these group stages to be as challenging for India as possible, so that by the time the business end comes, they are more ready and prepared for all the different scenarios. I mean, even in the last two games, I spoke about how Shubman Gill's injury, although is very, very unfortunate to him, is decent for India. That it's not happened at the later stage. It's happening now, and hopefully he would recover sooner rather than later. And second thing is, of course, that shocker of a start against Australia. Good that it's coming early and not when everyone would be like, "Yo, ye kahan se ho gaya? Ye kab ho gaya?"
All right, and since you mentioned Shubman Gill's absence, we're still not sure if he's going to be available even for the next encounter, which
Yeah.
is the big clash against Pakistan. But Gurkirat, in terms of how India's bowling has been in the previous game, which it was fantastic to be able to restrict a team like Australia to under 200 in Chennai was a fantastic performance. And something we'd also discussed in the mega preview was how Afghanistan would be relying more on their bowlers and less on their batting. Given that, do you think it's a very lopsided battle? India's bowling in form, Afghanistan's batting not really having come to the party yet. What do you are you expecting some anything else today?
Not really, and yes, it is a lopsided battle, because a lot is riding on the top two, and we like the fears that we had for Afghanistan. They sort of came true in the first game itself. I was just reading the preview that Anirudh Suresh has done. It's a good preview. It says that the 3, 4, and 5 have combined average of around 19, which is probably amongst the lowest of all teams. So that is a problem over there. And I've harped upon how they've not had a second quality pacer to support Fazalak Faruqi. And last game, you saw that Omar Zai came in very late. You've bowled 35 overs for Bangladesh to chase that target, and I think the Pacers only bowled 12 of them. Fazalak Faruqi had bowled 5, Naveen also bowled 5, and then Omar Zai came in very late into the attack. So they have to be very flexible in terms of maximizing whatever their strengths are, and hopefully I do think yes, the trend so far has been that teams have chosen to bowl first and chase because the pitch has gotten better. But I think that for Afghanistan it's best if they bat first, because anything above 250, if Afghanistan have to chase, there's a good chance that the scoreboard pressure might just finish off the game rather than their batters getting outplayed. Because that is something that we saw with Netherlands also in Hyderabad. So let's see how
Yeah,
the game pans out.
and
Yeah,
meanwhile
and
they
the
have after to bat. Yeah.
exactly, yeah. They also understand कि it won't be easier for them also to chase. Like Gurkirat mentioned, maybe they also know कि अगर in India ने 250 से ज़्यादा बना दिया तो it won't be easy for them for sure. 230 is what the average score is in Delhi. Last week we saw over 700 runs being scored. So not sure if we should be depending on those numbers. But since Gurkirat mentioned a lot of Afghan spacers, Mirzai, Fazalak Farooq and how they did previously, let's just talk about a few key battles. So let's just have that. All right, Somesh bhai, in terms of key battles, in terms of matchups, given that now Afghanistan is batting first, a fairly new surface you would expect. So, what are you looking forward to? Any particular matchups that you're looking forward to?
See, there is no player v player matchup in particular that I'm looking forward to. But if I have to strictly talk about Afghanistan batting, I mean, it will all depend on if they will be able to sort of see through that new ball spell. Because if they lose a lot of wickets up front, let's say if they're three down by the end of the 10th over, then it becomes increasingly difficult for them. Both uh, Ibrahim Zadran and Gurbaz, I feel, can hit spin if they sort of bat deep. So Afghanistan really need one of their openers to be there when India unleash the plethora of the spinners. But on that note, actually, Ashwin is not playing today. Shardul is in. So that's a surprise. That actually tells us about the wicket as well, that they're not expecting it to turn. But yeah, like I said, I'm looking forward to the fact if the Afghan openers can actually survive the new ball phase and build towards a substantial total that Afghanistan will need.
On just this note, on this change that Shardul's playing and Ashwin's not, I just have a few numbers that I want to, speak over here. It just speaks about why this change makes sense, because I'm just going to read out the averages of Afghan batters versus pace. Rahmat Shah's averaging 34.9, Nabi's averaging 23.2 against pace, Najibullah Zadran's averaging 30.3, Gulbuddin Naib's averaging 23.6, Hashmatullah Shahidi is averaging 29.5, Gurbaz is averaging 35.1, Ibrahim Zadran is averaging 39.2. So there is not a single batter who's averaging more than 40 versus pace. Again, spin, these numbers are better, and you expect that because these guys have played a lot of quality spinners in the nets itself. So this is why that change makes sense. And this also tells you that regardless of what the chatter might be between Shardul and Shami, the Indian management is preferring to play Shardul ahead of Shami, because with these numbers and given how Shami had a decent record, he took a hat trick last World Cup versus Afghanistan. I'm sure the temptation must have been to try and play Shami and just try and kill the game with the pace, with pace bowling itself against the Afghanistani batters. But good to see that India are sticking with Shardul over Shami here.
Somesh, would you agree with this? Because I was listening to what a few of the experts on TV on Star had to say, and they were pretty sure that Shami would play. They weren't just giving an opinion; they were almost stating the obvious, at least in their heads. That's how they thought it was. ये शमी तो खेल रहा है आज, ये तो पता ही है, ये लिख के ले लो, वैसे ही बोल के जाए थे. Do you agree with Shardul coming in, or Shami could have probably made a bit more impact in the game?
Okay, let me break my answer down here. First and foremost, this is not the first time that I've been hearing Shami walking into the first 11. This won't be the last, because, of course, Shami carries a reputation. Having said that, it was always pretty obvious that if India are playing only two frontline pacers who can't bat, then Bumrah and Siraj should be our 1 and 2 picks just purely on numbers. Bumrah is probably the best pacer India has ever produced across formats, and Siraj is, if I'm not mistaken, the number 1 ODI bowler, and this time deservingly, not just because he's played against light teams. So those two walk in. Any chance Shami would have had was probably if India wanted to rest Bumrah, because he's coming off an injury break. But I think they are pretty secure about his fitness level. So agar fitness ka koi concern nahi hai, then there is no point resting people, because that only leads to confusion. And like the legend Wasim Akram always says, the more you bowl, the better you get. I mean, it's not about lifting weights in the gym. It's actually bowling the number of balls for you to be fit. And thirdly, in terms of balance, I mean, it has been very clear that India at number 8 needs someone who at least give you that illusion that there is a batter at 8. What Shardul and Ashwin will inevitably be able to do with the bat at number 8 is a separate question. But the top order just needs that safety net, so to speak, in their heads. Even if we try that a little bit harder, there is someone at the end who can still hang around with your number 6 and 7. So with that, I think the clarity that the Indian team has shown in terms of team selection in the ODI format is impeccable. We have criticized them a lot about other formats, and I would say deservingly criticized. But in the ODI scheme of things, I've no questions at all in the way they've progressed.
Just to add on here, now that India have won the toss, you could have probably said that, oh, probably India did not need that extra batter. But given how the conditions were, and you saw that, if you're batting first, you want to go hard here, then you also need that extra security. In a chase, maybe you can do without it. But if you're batting first, it becomes all the more important to have that batting option, or, the Somer said, the illusion of batting depth. So, yeah,
Yeah, true. I mean, the illusion of batting depth is probably as apt a description as it could get, when it comes to describing Shardul's batting. But it definitely helps. Like we've discussed before, way too many times, that having that cushion always helps with batters, with them being able to pace their innings better, knowing that they have that additional batting option. Whether it actually turns out or not, I mean, whether it actually comes to fruition or not is secondary, but having that always helps. Let's just take a few comments because there are a few interesting ones. Paras Arora, he goes on to say, entire mood got spoiled after seeing Afghanistan decided to bat first. Record total was inside. भाई कुछ ज्यादा है कॉन्फिडेंस है चलो देखना है डोंट फॉरगेट कि हम लोग 2 for 3 थे पिछले मैच में भी यू नेवर नो एंड संजय ही ऑफ कोर्स how can he forget IPL. He says looking forward to the Arm versus Chico battle. When we spoke about key battles, I thought this could be one that would come up. Maybe in terms of actual matchups, it might not be the case, but psychologically, do you see it playing out? Do you see both of them carrying it forward from the IPL? Like Somesh bhai, you can probably start. Like, do you see any merit in either of them carrying anything from the IPL here?
I can see one of them carrying it forward. I think Kohli would have forgotten about it the next morning itself. So I can very well expect it to the battle to still go on from the other perspective. I hope it just doesn't. It isn't ugly. I mean, there is no need for it. I mean, just gives it sort of emphasizes on certain things which should not be emphasized in sport. There is room for sledging, there is room for banter, but there is no room for any sort of ugly behavior, which also need to lead to a lot of other different things which we don't want in our sport. So yeah.
I mean, that's true. As an RCB fan, again, पता नहीं हर बार क्यों बोल पड़ता हूँ, but yeah, it's always great to see banter. But yeah, let's just hope neither of them cross the line. In terms of comments, Neural Hacks with Vasant. Hello, Vasant. He says, Badri in the pitch report said that this pitch should be more competitive between the bat and ball rather than a highway. I mean, Gambhir had different opinions. He felt कि यहाँ पे 400 के आसपास बनानी चाहिए इंडिया को अगर वो पहले बैटिंग करता है. Did you guys get a chance? I mean, of looking at the surface in terms of whatever the broadcasters were showing? Gurkirat, you could probably take this up.
Yeah,
I read the
Gurkirat had a lengthy net session this morning on that video.
इसीलिए तो वहीं से आ रहे लगता है जर्सी वसी पहन के आए हैं बस.
I read the pitch report, and Majrekar said that it doesn't look very different from the pitch in the previous game at the venue. And Majrekar, someone who I sort of have some confidence on that, yeah, he can get it right. But see, regardless, if the pitch wouldn't have changed that much if 400, I don't think that pitch was a 400 sort of a pitch. It's just that the boundary dimensions and the poor bowling allowed and some great batting allowed for South Africa to score 400 plus. But this is a pitch where 330 350 between two equally contested teams should make for a good contest, because there is some help for spinners, and that is something that we'll see throughout. So India should still, try and look to restrict Afghanistan to 250, and then, look to chase it down comfortably without as much of a stress, and try and see if that net run rate can be given a push.
All right. Sanjay meanwhile goes on to say, commentators be like, everyone will see the opposite thing. Someone will get it right anyways. भाई hedging the bets तो कोई मतलब हम तो खाली फोकट ये फाइनेंशियल ये सब देख रहे हैं. इनसे सीखो भाई, बस बता दो कोई तुक्का तो किसी ना किसी का तो लग ही जाएगा. Mohit meanwhile he says, I just hope Afghanistan score at least 250 so that King Kohli can score his 48 ton today. Yeah भाई मतलब 250 में भी कोहली का सेंचुरी चाहिए. Good, let's hope.
It's a good game to sort of elaborate on this, because see, I can relate to it a little bit. Not that I want to be in that boat of milestones, but of course there was a point where I was young and cricket for me was more emotional than anything else. So it takes me back to the 2011 World Cup, when my mind was, how can Sachin get to his 50th ODI turn right here, right now? Because I mean, if he would have retired after the World Cup, people would have actually, it would have been acceptable. This is a good time to retire from the format.
Ended on a high.
In hindsight, probably he should have done that. And Kohli is at his 47th ton in ODIs. He needs 3 more to 50. People who are as invested in Virat Kohli as I was in Tendulkar would actually be cursing the last game where Kohli actually had an outside chance to score 100. And they will be thinking, by at least potentially 9 games or 8 games more to go, he needs 300s. Because what if he doesn't play an ODI after this? I mean, you never know what is the future of this format. What does Kohli himself has in mind regarding the format? So his fans, I can completely understand that they would want him to reach 50th ODI 100 in this tournament itself.
Yeah, I mean, Kohli's fans want him to reach 50 ODI hundreds, and we want this live stream to hit 50 likes. Guys, nearly 60 of you watching. Please, please, please make sure you're hitting the like button. Make sure you've also subscribed to us if you haven't already. And yeah, sorry, Gurkirat, sorry to cut you right there. What were you saying?
Yeah, I was just saying that Kohli is the only batter in this Indian 11 who scored 100 at FSK. It came 12 years ago. I was there at the stadium. Kohli and Gambhir had a good partnership, chasing some 220 odd versus England. And the opening pair for India in that game was Ajinkya Rahane and Parthiv Patel. So that is how long ago Kohli scored 100 at FSK. He's had a test 100 in between, the 243 versus Sri Lanka, but yeah, you'd like the homeboy to try and get at least one other 100 at this venue.
I remember that Sri Lanka game when actually everyone was talking about the air quality more than the game, and Sri Lankan players were actually playing with a mask on, and here Kohli
Yeah.
was running like a maniac as he always does. I've seen a Kohli double 100 from the stands in Wankhede, and I was sitting in the stands. I was sweating profusely, and there Kohli was running singles, doubles for fun. I was like, insane! How fit is this guy?
That's true. That's really true. And another TIL moment for me, I never knew it was called FSK in the first place. मुझे लगा हर कोई फिरोशा कोटला ही बोलता होगा. You learn something every day. तो अभी एजे हो गया कि अभी भी FSK बोलते हैं.
See, I think अब जैसे no one calls the Chepauk MA Chidambaram Stadium or MAC. So see, old names have a legacy. You can change it, but that name stays with it because there's a lot of memories and everything. Like since the time I've grown up, I've only heard Kotla, Kotla, Kotla. तो वो FSK तो मैंने अभी एक खुद ही बना दिया short form. But you can change names, but वो I'm sure so many people for that Hyderabad stadium. I have not heard anyone call it as Rajiv Gandhi International Stadium. You say it's the stadium in Uppal or the Uppal Stadium. Similarly,
That's
yeah, you don't call Brabon as CCI or something. You just call it Brabon. So, वैसा I just think you can change names, but जो legacy names रहते हैं, they stay.
I mean, I'm guessing the implication is far more than just cricket. But anyways, let's
But
let's
people actually MH Chidambaram, I've heard a lot of people from Chennai call it Mac.
yeah. Wow,
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Anyway, since we also spoke a lot about rather Kohli centuries, let's have the did you know stat right now in front of us. All right, a very fascinating stat, something that's actually blown my mind, but not so much as well simultaneously when I think of it in hindsight. Mohammad Shahzad is the only batter to hit an ODI century in an India-Afghanistan ODI encounter. Virat Kohli 67 in 2019 is the next best. I was thinking, wow, that's some stat, and then it hit me. Yeah, India and Afghanistan haven't played too many ODIs. Well, they've played just the two, right? One in 2018 in the Asia Cup, and the other probably in 2019 in the 2019 World Cup. I don't think they've ever played an ODI before or after that, have they?
No, I don't think they have, because in the
Wow.
2015 World Cup they were in a different group. So yeah,
Exactly.
it's only
Yeah.
been it's only been two ODIs, and yeah, not but you know now that I think we should now shift to the other section, which is the X Factor one.
Yep.
So in those two ODIs, the best performer for Afghanistan has been Mohammad Nabi. He's had 250s, 250 score, and last time also he almost won the game in that World Cup for Afghanistan. So and he's also taken wickets. So my X factor is clear, pretty much clear now. I couldn't help but plug it in right now because I was like, ठीक है, conversation में आगे ही बढ़ाते हैं.
चलो कोई नहीं, इनका तो आ गया, बट सोमेश भाई इससे पहले बोलते हैं थोड़ा स्ट्रिंग लगाते हैं. अब हमारे एडिटर साहब
Of course,
काफी
of course,
मेहनत
yeah.
की है, तो वो भी लगा लेते हैं एक बार. Yeah.
बनता है.
Yep, X Factor. Gurkirat bhai ne to already bata diya unka. Somesh bhai, what are you thinking? Who are you looking forward to, and who do you think would be the
So
X Factor?
I've already spoken about the Afghan batters, the openers, so to speak. I really want them to see through the new ball and then get into India spinners and post something substantial. Although Ibrahim Zadran's form of late has been a little iffy, he's averaging in the mid 20s in his last 7 innings, if I'm not mistaken. But I think, and this is something Gurkirat and I were actually discussing before we went live, the way I see it, the one way Afghanistan can actually win this game or be in the running is if Fazlak Farooqi produces an amazing new ball spell and do something along the lines of what Josh Hazelwood did the other night. If he can pick 3 wickets up front, he can cause a little bit of jitters, even if Afghanistan say end up scoring around 220. But 220 to 230 is bare minimum that Afghanistan need to score. If it's anything under, then probably a good new ball spell by Farooqi won't even do the trick. But yeah, I mean, I think I'll have my eyes on that Farooqi spell on how it goes.
And this is the best case scenario because it's not that Fazal Farooqi has been picking up wickets left, right, and center. He struggled for wickets in the Asia Cup. On I think the two matches that Afghanistan played, he did not even complete his quota of overs. Only bowled 5 in that last game. So it's not that he's been in great form. I expect Indian batters to play Rashid and Mujib both far more comfortably than you would expect other teams because they've played so much of them in the IPL. So that should have some bearing. So yeah, if someone can open up the game for Afghanistan, it has to be Fazal Farooqi with that new ball spell. I mean, if not 3 down, you at least need India to be 2 down for Afghanistan to have a chance in the first power play.
Mm. And guys, just to correct you, I think India and Afghanistan have on paper played 3 ODIs. One of them was, I think, a washout somewhere,
Oh,
or something along those lines.
all right.
But
Interesting.
on paper they've played 3.
Fair. I mean, just going to one of the comments here, sorry, a slight digression, but I do want to bring this up. What Chetan Chaudhary here has to ask us. He asked us our team should get to choose between 2 playing 11s, one for batting first and one for fielding first. Something that we saw happen in this IPL, and something that makes a lot of sense given how tosses work and there's so much randomness involved in it. So let's start with Gurkirat here. What do you think of that? Do you think do you see that? Do you see that being extended to international cricket?
Oh, see, it's a tough one because I had spoken of this during the IPLs that the impact player rule or these rules can help if you have backups in the squad. And IPL had bigger squads, minimum 20 and maximum 25. Now, when you have a 15-member squad, if you're not able to narrow down your best 11, regardless of the fact if you're batting first or bowling first, then I think it's a problem in terms of reading the conditions. Also, because it is a longer format, I don't think that the conditions can have as big of a bearing as what you would have in a shorter game or a shorter format. If even if you consider this game, right, the game will start at 2. You expect the overs to be bowled out by 5:30 and the second innings to start by 6. Now, even if the second innings is starting by 6, by 7:15, you feel that or by 7:30 rather, you would feel that the dew would come in. So by that time, you have already bowled 15 to 20 overs. So if you want to have the opposition in a pickle, you can have it. So it's I just feel that there has to be some natural variation in the game that should be left as it is, because the more you will try and control, oh, we want to factor in for the weather conditions because there could be dew, so we want this. You never know, because you can't control how much dew will be there or how much, how the weather will play out. Sometimes there will not be dew and the dryness of the wicket might just help you. So yeah, in a 15-member squad, if you can't select your best 11, then I'm not sure. And we saw that despite the having the impact player, it's not that the captains were able to use those players better. Nikhil last time when we were doing a show for Afghanistan, he said that Afghanistan might as well play with only 6-11 players because they don't know how to use all the 11 players. So what can these rules help then?
Fair, a bit harsh, but fair. I mean, you can't deny what Gurkirat had to say and what even Nikhil Bhai had to say in the mega preview. For those who still haven't checked it out, do make sure you give it a look as well. And 50 of you watching guys, please make sure you're hitting the like button, you're liking the stream, and make sure you've also subscribed to us if you haven't already. Somesh bhai, Gurkirat mentioned about first 11s and how if you don't have enough players in your squad, then there's no point trying to fill your first 11 with random options. India's first 11 has two irreplaceable players. Let's talk about one right now, Hardik Pandya. Got his hand hit. He came back in the penultimate over in the last game, wasn't able to bowl at full tilt. Do you think that's a major cause for concern? Is it something that you're looking forward to seeing that he is bowling at full tilt today?
I mean, just to see if he's there and thereabouts, he could be given a few overs. But I mean, I don't. Given that they already have Shardul, India don't really need Hardik in this game. He's more of a backup option. There will come a point where India will need Hardik the bowler a lot more. Of course, Hardik is I think one batter who would be in the side at least in this World Cup, even if he's not bowling, because he has been the number 6, perhaps the only number 6 who has been groomed for this role. Of course, people can always say that there is Sky waiting, but then Hardik has been doing it a lot more consistently. So I'm okay either way. I mean, on one hand, like what I said for Bumrah, if you want to apply that to Hardik, the more he bowls, the better he gets. But then it's like two different situations. Bumrah, you know that you need 10 overs from him day in, day out. Hardik, you can more sort of, he's that piece of the jigsaw puzzle which arrives on certain venues, certain conditions, certain oppositions. So 4 or 5 overs, maybe not more than that. No point. I mean, unless and until India have a really horrible start with Bumrah, Siraj, and even Shardul.
Fair. You mentioned that Shardul's bowling might take care of Hardik's batting. But Shubham Sharma has a question for us in terms of Shardul's batting. Shardul and Jadeja, to be more precise. He asked us, can India promote Jadeja and Shardul for batting practice if India is ahead? Gurkirat, what do you think of this? Is that a possibility that we shouldn't rule out?
And is a possibility that is not happening, or is something that you could consider, though to nahi hone wale. And yeah, I mean, it could be a scenario where, say, India need 50 runs to get 20 overs remaining, you're only 2 down, so then maybe you can, or you are only 3 down, then maybe you can send in Jadeja ki theek hai bhai, go and have a knock. I'm not sure even if they'll do it at 2 down, because Shreyas, they would want Shreyas to get some runs, to keep getting some runs, because he's been someone who's been most recent in terms of comeback. Hardly played the Asia Cup, so and is not possible, or might happen, or may, and it makes sense to do it with Jadeja, because again I feel in the in the Ahmedabad game, I just feel that given the venue and given Shami's record, there's a good chance India might play Shami ahead of both Shardul and Ashwin. So it makes sense to have Jadeja get that knock, and that the scenario in which it can happen, I already mentioned.
All right. Kanan B has a slightly left field question for us. He asks us, will having Ajay Jadeja in the camp help Afghanistan in the match against India? Somesh bhai, what do you think of
You
that?
know, the amount of times Hashmatullah Shahidi has answered that question, if he can get $1 for every time he's been asked this question, he would be richer. I won't say he'll be a millionaire, but this is the question that is being asked of him in every press conference. Now, I'm not sure. I mean, what he can obviously motivate the team, maybe talk about a few tactics, but other than that, he won't change the way these guys are batting. The middle order, their career at strike rates, I've already spoken about it, and I've jinxed it enough कि रहमत शाह तो अब तेज खेलने लग गया है. But I mean, what will Jadeja do if your numbers 3 and 4 have a career strike rate in 60s and 70s? Not much really. So he's there. Maybe, I mean, it's not like he was part of this Indian setup. He knows the plans or certain things. And this is not the format. This is not a 20-over format or a 10-over format where these things will make a big difference. It's a 50-over format. Even if a tactical move which Ajay Jadeja suggests work for Afghanistan, they really need to keep finding solutions as the game progresses throughout the 100 overs. So yeah, I mean, optically it looks good. It might give them a minor fillip, but I mean, these things will only produce results in the longer run. You can't do it last moment, add some mentor and feel that it will make a big difference. I don't think that, I mean, it can work that way.
All right, interesting that. Well, tomorrow is the Australia South Africa fixture, and the reason I bring that up is because once tomorrow's game is done, every team would have played 2 games apiece. We'll get a pretty fair idea, rough indication of where teams are standing. But before that, let's just have a look either ways in terms of where India stands and where other teams stand in the points table. So if you guys can see the points table right now, yeah, there we go. So New Zealand, of course, right on top with 2 massive wins. Gurkirat, what do you make of this? I mean, of course, it's just 1 game into it. There's nothing to make out of it. But India winning this could potentially also help see them, leapfrog New Zealand and go to the pole position ahead of the India-Pakistan encounter. The much sort of touted and advertised India-Pakistan encounter. Do you think that's the kind of psychological advantage you would like to have in terms of going into that encounter, being on top, or that's just all, hullabaloo?
See, I think leapfrogging New Zealand may not be possible even if India win big, because that net run rate is pretty huge at this point of time for New Zealand. Uh, I do think that if India win, they'll go above Pakistan, but I don't think it's going to have any bearing on or any psychological bearing before that game. There's just far more. There are just too many factors and distractions to make it a like. Both these teams could be ninth and 10th in the table, and table will be the last thing that they'll care about, because there are so many other factors associated with regards to this game. Like now we are reading that there could be a special ceremony, etc., with who's who of the country being there. So table, I think it would be the last thing on their minds कि table में position का है. They could be ninth and 10th and they'd still want to win this game, given how how people are and how the atmosphere is on both sides of the border with regards to this game. I personally don't like it. I feel that in today's time and situation, it's probably, I mean, you'll have to feel for the players somewhere, because we've seen the kind of reactions there have been on both sides when a team has lost, that people just cross all sort of boundaries, throw in random accusations which makes no sense. So I actually feel for the players ahead of such games, that you could try your best, but sometimes if it's not your day, people are not going to buy it. They're just going to be after you. So for me, yeah, I would hate to be a player in, whether I'm playing for Pakistan or for India, I'd hate to be a player in these kind of fixtures in today's times.
All right, you also said that table is the last thing on these players' mind right now. औरों का
Yeah,
तो पता नहीं, but
they will be looking forward to the Arijit Singh concert, na? इसलिए उसके they won't care about that.
yeah, and मैं भी यही कह रहा था, औरों का तो पता नहीं, but I don't
No,
think our
but
graphic designer would be too
it would
happy
be it would
hearing
be
that
very
carry table
it
क्यों
would be
पता नहीं.
very it would be very funny if Arijit Singh's यही उम्र है कर ले गलती से mistake. I know that game. Just imagine he's singing that song and players would be like, भाई आज तो mistake हुई तो क्या ही होगा
गलती
आज.
से mistake
आज तो गलती से भी मिस्टेक नहीं कर सकते.
exactly. But speaking of galti se mistakes, I don't think Avnish here has done a galti se mistake. Avnish and I were in a huge argument, guys, where Avnish just stands firm. He still refuses to believe that Jadeja isn't the clutch batter that he thinks he is. He's like, Jadeja is probably the best. I mean, in his head, Jadeja is probably the best limited overs batter out there. और कोई
अरे
है
बाप
नहीं
रे.
इंडियन टीम में, है ही नहीं कोई, है ही नहीं, बिल्कुल नहीं. और
बेकार
how
का
can you
comment है.
criticize
बेकार.
Jadeja's batting?
ये
How can you
ये
criticize Jadeja's
this
batting?
is the RCB fan in Avnish talking, just random banter he wants to get into. The point is the two knocks that everyone, I mean, one knock that everyone recalls is the 1996 quarterfinal.
नहीं
The
नहीं
other
नहीं
was that
नहीं, this is the other Jadeja. उसका भी 2 ही नॉक है. Funnily ना, उसका भी 2 ही नॉक है. IPL फाइनल्स ये पिछले वाला और 2019. अवनीश भाई साहब यही 2 नॉक ले रहे हैं, बाय द वे. यही 2 नॉक लेके जडेजा इतना बढ़िया लिमिटेड ओवर्स बैटर है, इतना कैसे क्रिटिसाइज कर सकते हो? बोल
See,
बोल के कान पका
I
दिया.
don't even
which
think that
which
the
Jadeja are we talking about now? That's the
Ravindra
biggest.
Jadeja. Avnish decided to time it exactly while we were talking about Ajay Jadeja, but he's speaking about the other Jadeja, and he limited overs batting, Jadeja's top draw. He's there. इतना clutch player है, इतना सब किया इंडिया के लिए. How can you criticize Jadeja's batting in limited overs? Is what Avnish had to say. भाई. अभी क्या
I'll,
बोले?
I'll say, if you are going to talk about two knocks of Ravindra Jadeja, you'd rather talk about the knock in the 2013 Champions Trophy final rather than, because the IPL one, I don't think it's, you can even categorize it as a knock. At best, it's a cameo, because before those last two
भाई
balls, it
जिसमें
was
लास्ट
not.
बॉल एज हुआ, लास्ट बॉल एज हुआ,
So
वो बोले तो
so
बोलता है नहीं क्लच है, वो बैटिंग स्टांस उसका
so
ऐसा था इसीलिए एज लगा. He even justifies an edge. अब क्या बोलूं?
anyway, the games begun. We can't
Yeah.
spend too much
It's
time
time. It's
on.
time for us also to wrap it up. Just one last thing, guys. Predictions. What do you think? How much is Afghanistan ending up with? Since both of you mentioned that it's very crucial for all the Afghan openers to play the new ball out, to play Bumrah and Siraj out, and potentially even Thakur out. What are you looking at? Somesh, you can probably start first. How much do you think Afghanistan are ending up with?
I'd say 160. I don't have a lot of hopes.
तो मैच जल्दी खत्म हो रहा है. चलो, आई एम थिंकिंग ऑप्टिमिज्म, उसी में ऑप्टिमिज्म ढूंढ लेते हैं. चलो, गुरकिरत भाई, व्हाट डू यू थिंक?
Yeah, I'd say 230, 240, but it would be good if Afghanistan can, get past 250. Could actually make for some decent viewing. India might just be tested a little bit, but I'm not realistic about it.
All right, sticking to what I know best, just playing the devil's advocate for the sake of it, I'm saying 292 is what Afghanistan is ending up with. A quick fire cameo from Najeeb. It'll take them over the line, and hopefully some fantastic bowling. I don't know, by the likes of Naveen Ullah. You never know. You never know. Funny things have happened in World Cups before, and let's hope something like that happens. Yep, and that's it from us, guys, from the preview. We'll see you guys in hopefully not more than, say, 3.5 hours. But Somesh or Gurkirat ki mane, to we might be seeing you guys in a couple of hours, probably even lesser. You never know. But yeah, that's it from us right now. Make sure you've hit the like button right now. Make sure you've liked the stream. Make sure you've also subscribed to us, and keep your eye out for all the fantastic content that will be coming your way, guys. There's also another property that's coming out today, sharp at 8 o'clock. Make sure you guys check that out as well. I'll be making another debut. How often do you see the same person making two debuts on the same day? Look at that. You never see that happen in cricket, but yeah, you'll see that happen on cricket.com, because yeah, we are different, guys. So make sure you're there at 8 o'clock sharp, and make sure you're also there for the mid innings review, where we talk about why Afghanistan ended up with 294 and why Akshay was right. Until then, that's it from all of us. We'll see you guys soon. Take care. See ya.